Hey, good morning. This is Professor Michael Young. This is the first of our meetings. I'm using Screencast-O-Matic, and what's happening is I have to admit I'm not that good at it. It's the first time I used it. I'm having a few difficulties, but that shouldn't hold us up. I'm going to get started. This is in this first recording, what I'm going to try to do is, first off, I'm learning how to use Screencast-O-Matic, and second off, I'm going to talk about our course. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. Some of you might have seen me around campus. As I mentioned to you in my last little information session, I'm going to turn 57 years old next month. I've been doing this is my 31st year of teaching this particular course. Well, not this course, not just this course, other courses too, but I've been doing this for quite a long time. Before I took this job at App State, I spent 19 years in Hong Kong. So I've traveled to almost every province in China. So as you might guess, I'm very excited about what's happening in China right now. It's another thing that's happening in the world, in addition to the COVID, in addition to the political upheaval that we're having right now in the United States with the upcoming election and all the controversy. But my former home, Hong Kong, recently got, they passed a security law, and my son still lives there. My ex-wife still lives there. So I still have a lot of ties there. I have a lot of friends there, so I'm following what's happening in Hong Kong very closely. But enough about that. Let's talk about our course. Now, if you'll bear with me, I'm trying to figure out how to use this information. Okay, so I think I got this figured out finally. Excuse me. So let's go over a little bit of the details of our course. Right, so these are this is where I am in Peacock Hall whenever we don't have a pandemic going on. I'm usually on the 4th floor in room 4093. Let's hope that things get a lot better, and I'll be back there very soon. And let's imagine that you're coming to see me in my office and we're meeting in class. But in the meantime, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my office hours appointment by Zoom. Anytime you want to meet with me, I think you can tell I'm a pretty easygoing guy. Just say, Professor Young, you can call me Michael, I want to meet with you. Let's get together and talk. I'm having some problems, something's going on, I want to talk about graduate school, etc., etc. You just send me a message, we'll hook that up. Probably later on I'll start having some regular office hours, but I tried doing this last semester and nobody showed up. And so I ended up wasting a lot of time. I will make a promise to you that I'm going to be doing some traveling this semester, but I'm going to make a promise to you that I'm going to try to answer emails as quickly as possible. So you send me an email, I'm going to try to get back to you really, really fast. Textbook that we're going to use. This is a great book. I've been using it for some time. It's now its 13th edition. It's a guy named Michael Hitt, Dwayne Ireland, and Hoskisson, Strategic Management, Competitiveness and Globalization. We're up to the 13th edition. You know, I'm tried to hook up with Michael Weldon from Cengage last week, this week, and we're having a hard time. I got to make a note of that. I need to get back with him. We're going to get that so you can link straight into that off of your As You Learn page, so you shouldn't have to leave your house. Bear with me on that. I'm going to try to get to it today. I'll send him a message today and say, Michael, we need to meet. I got to get this set up. What's our course about? Well, this is strategic management, and I'm biased. I think it's the most exciting course in the history of the planet. Before I started teaching management, I was teaching economics. And I don't want to say anything bad about economics. I like economics, but economics is it's so tight and so controlled and so unrealistic, let's put it that way, with all the simplifying assumptions. It's easier to teach because when you go into the class, you know what's going to happen. The thing about strategic management is it's wide open. There are very few things that we don't touch upon. This is sometimes called a capstone course, in that oftentimes it's the last course that you'll have in one of the last ones you'll have in your business career. So we touch on everything, and what we talk about is, hey, why is it that some firms do well and others don't do well? I mean, think about it. Most companies fail. Most companies bomb. It's just a fact, right? You've read those statistics. Something like in 4 years, 90% of companies are out of business once they started. And if you look at the statistics, a lot of other companies are just getting by, just making payroll and so forth. So what's exciting about this is that some do well. Some do extremely well. Look at Amazon.com. Look at the FANG companies, Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, and Google. Even during this last recession, these companies have exploded. Why is that? What is it that makes some companies do well while others fail? And so we start trying to look at that. We look at features in the external environment. We also look at features of the company itself. As you're going to see, the approach we take is both. We look at both inside and outside the organization. And we look at cases. We look at cases of companies in the past. We also look at exercises. We look at research. At this point, there's been a lot of research done, and so we have a lot to say about why some companies are successful and others are not successful. So we bring that all into this classroom. And so, yeah, I'm biased, but I think it's like one of the most exciting courses on the planet at this moment, at this point in history. Our course structure. Well, we don't have a lot of choice. It looks like, I predict that at least before September is over, we will be in a full online structure. This is just a reality that we face. And there could be a miracle and the virus could disappear. If that happens, we'll be back in a classroom, right? But chances are that's not going to happen. So that means that most of our classes are going to be like this. I'm going to do it this way, where I do these asynchronous courses. We do it in this manner, and then asynchronous, by the way, means not synchronized. So that means I can make these lectures at 3 o'clock in the morning. You can watch them at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It doesn't matter, right? We don't have to be at the same place in the same time. I think that's better for everybody, at least for now. We'll see how that goes. We will do a combination of exercises as well as cases, as well as these recorded lectures. We're going to do all of this, try to put it together. Bear with me. We're kind of stumbling through this. We'll try to figure it out. I'm going to figure out a way to do this. But if you want to do it, I'm going to try to make these exercises available. I haven't figured out how I'm going to do that yet. As the semester goes on, we'll get a better feel for it. But if you want to access me at any time, you can. These are some of the objectives. This is kind of standard stuff. One of the fun things about this course is we get to pretend like we're CEOs. Yeah, so it's kind of cool. We're buying and selling companies. We're entering the China market or exiting the China market. We're developing new products. We're developing marketing plans, etc., etc. So that makes it kind of fun. So let's talk about the class assessment. We're all online, so everything has to be either done through some sort of virtual format or done online. Normally the class participation component of the grade is larger than this. But since it's all online, I don't have a good way, at least not this semester, of figuring out class participation. So that's 5%, which is going to be a lot of that's going to be your peer evaluation. In fact, maybe the largest component of your participation grade is going to be the amount of participation you're doing in your group. So please keep a good relationship with your group. We have 4 exams, and one of those will be dropped. Each of the exams is worth 20 points. This should say, it says in class. This should say online. Online, on class. All right, let's just change it right now. Online exams and a final, and everything is going to be fair game for the exam. That includes the group project, the videos, the the exercises, everything, the little caselets that we're going to do. All of that's going to be available on the exam. Typically, the exams are about 40 questions, and they run to about 30 minutes or so, about an hour or so, about the length of a class period. We try to set this up. We're trying to replicate a classroom experience as much as possible. I'm also going to ask you to do some more group assignments and presentations, and those are going to account for another 15% of your grade. And then finally, we are going to have this is kind of like a grand feature of the course. We're going to do something called, it's a consulting project on Appalachian International. So the final part of our grade is going to be a real live consulting project. And I think we're quite lucky to be able to do this. Let me give you a little bit of background on this company. It's called Appalachian International. You can go to their website right now, appalachian.com, and so you can see it's an app. It's an app that was developed, it was conceived and developed by a graduate from App State. It's a young woman from mainland China. Her name is Wan Kai Wan, and she calls herself Tia. So Tia, after she graduated from App State with an MBA about 2 years ago, she moved to New York, started working for another startup company, but while she was working for this startup company, she founded another business. And she has since hired one of our graduates. Yeah, you guys may know her. She just graduated just in May. Kayla Bowman graduated from App State from a business program. I'm not exactly sure what her major was, but she moved to, well, no, she's still here in Boone. She's working virtually for Appalachian as a customer service representative. I think a lot more people are going to be working virtually. So what I'm going to ask you to do is to provide some consulting for Appalachian. And in that, you're going to be applying the tools that we learned in our course, doing some analysis, both external and internal, and then developing recommendations for Appalachian. There's some information about Appalachian posted up there. I don't want to get into too much detail in this first meeting. I don't want to overwhelm you with detail, but that's going to be something that's going to come towards the end of the course. All right. So let's look at the schedule. So today is the 19th. We are in our first week. I'm going to get these Chapter 1, Topic 1 recordings up there. I'd like to get them done today. We'll see. As you can see, I'm kind of not that comfortable with technology, but hopefully I can get them done either today or tomorrow. Then we move into something called external analysis, and we spend a lot of time talking about the industry and why the industry is important. I'll have some exercise for you to do on that. And then our third topic on analysis is we sort of shift from the outside of the company. We're looking at the environment, how the environment affects their ability to have a sustainable competitive advantage, if you will. And then we shift inside we start looking at their core competencies. Then we'll have our first exam. Again, These exams, they're going to be online, an hour and 15 minutes each. Roughly, I don't want to commit myself to a number right now, but roughly 40 questions of MC, maybe 1 or 2 short answer questions is typically how we did it last semester. And then we will go, that's September 10th, by the way, so if you want to make a note, that's our first exam. So you're going to need to be ready for that, because that will be at a fixed time and place, and you need to take it during that time. Then we move into actual strategies. We start talking about business level strategy. Some of these, you may have heard of some of these terms, you may not. But business level strategy is different from corporate level strategy, that we say, okay, what if we're in one business? What if we're making only toothbrushes, for example? How do we go about that? What's our marketing plan? Do we want to be the cost leader? Do we want to be the fancy toothbrush? Do we want to focus on electric toothbrushes? There are different things that we could do depending on the environment and so forth. So we'll talk about business level strategy. Then we talk about competitive dynamics. Competitive dynamics is kind of exciting, as you might guess. It's like, all right, if we're going to get into battles, we prefer not to get into battles. I'm going to talk about that in our first lesson. A smart manager doesn't want to compete. Yeah, I know it sounds crazy, but hey, we would rather figure out some way to not compete. The last thing we want to do is get into a price war, but sometimes we have to. If we are into competitive situation, dynamics, and rivalry, then how do we go about that? Corporate level strategy, keyword there is diversification and synergies. If we want to move into more than one business, if we want to move into more than one industry, how should we go about it? Then we spend quite a bit of time talking about mergers and acquisitions. Mergers and acquisitions is kind of a hot topic. There are lots of mergers that are taking place, lots of consolidations. These usually come in waves. But should we merge? Does it make sense? If we do merge, what company should we merge with, and how do we go about conducting those types of mergers? Then we say, okay, what if we want to go international? Go international. How do we compete in different countries? All right. And then the last topic we talk about is corporate governance. This is, as you might guess, it's the relationship between shareholders, boards of directors, CEOs, and stock markets. It's where a lot of my research takes place. All right. So the exams will take place on September 10, October 6th, and November 3rd. Unless something changes, that's the way it's going to work. We might have to move that depending on the pandemic, depending on lots of other things. But anyway, don't sweat it. It's going to be all right. And then after our third exam on November 3rd, we move into nothing but Palapod mode. This is where you guys will be working in groups on developing plans for Palapod, the company that has a lot of ties to Appalachian State, founded by an App State grad, also has another App State grad working there, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to do those presentations in class, hoping against hope, so that our last 3 classes are the only ones that we actually will meet face to face. So we'll set that up. What we'll do is probably meet one group at a time, and groups will come in and do the presentation of their assignment. And so, yeah, so that's it. That's the basics of how we're going to try to run this baby this semester. Yeah, and I mentioned this in my little email to you guys, a little discussion group. I hope to have several discussions to get going on the discussion board, because that's a way that we can all have a conversation virtually without having to meet. But I just want to say this, don't worry. And I mean that with all sincerity. I want you to get as much out of this as you possibly can, and we're going to make it happen. We want to make sure, and I don't think I'm just speaking for me. We've had faculty meetings at the department level, at the School of Business level. We've had meetings at the university level. And so we all know that you guys are under a tremendous amount of stress right now. There's not a lot that we can do about that. But I don't want this course to be another thing that you're stressing about. Because I'm going to do everything I can to make sure everybody graduates, that everybody is comfortable, that everybody has accommodations for possible sicknesses, for work, for other things that are going on in our lives. Because I know it sounds like a tired cliche, but we are all in this together. That includes us as a class and for this course. So I want you to be comfortable, and I don't want you to think that your Management 4750 course is another thing that you need to panic about. I think it's all set up in such a way that we're going to be able to do it with minimal interruptions, with as little hassle as possible, to make sure that we get through this and have a great experience. I'll have some more information later that I'm gonna post about some study abroad opportunities and other things. But in the meantime, hey, come by and see me. I'm here with my 2 cats here in the suburbs of the big city of Boone, North Carolina. So with that, let's move forward confidently and boldly into the future. Talk to you later.